Hello, my name is Anna Summer. I chose both of the projects to talk about. The first work is an overview of our very first assignment. Here we worked on taking a normal everyday item and drawing it at different angles. The purpose of this assignment was to focus on shapes and forms. My interpretation of this assignment was that I should attempt to look at this can at a different perspective. I realized I should try to approach it at different angles one wouldn't typically look at on an everyday basis. I didn't use any techniques with this assignment, mainly because it was a simple drawing, although I did think it would have been beneficial to sketch out my 2x2 squares. I had to focus on how I was going to scale this piece. I didn't want it to be too close up that no one wouldn't have been able to figure out the item. But I also didn't want it to be too far out because to me, that's not an abstract piece. In this next slide, there is one close-up from the overview. Here, I wanted to focus on getting the correct details of the soda can. I focused on the upper left-hand corner of this image. This picture came from the 6x6 piece we were assigned to do. Although it wasn't similar to the first piece I decided to go off of, I still tried to use the same lines and angles in the entire project. In the entire project, there is a repetition of a pattern. Most of the angles I chose to draw had the S from the Sierra label on it. Although some didn't, I still consider this as a repeating pattern. In this slide, I have created another close-up of the can. I kept the similar pattern between all of my 2x2 close-up images. This way, the viewer is able to identify the fact that it is the same object but different angles. I chose this angle because it was close enough to understand the image and what the item is. Throughout Project 1, I tried to make sure each drawing was similar. I attempted to be accurate with my drawings of the item I chose. This next slide is the assignment from Project 2. We discussed different forms of lines. We used different materials to create these lines. In this picture, I have compared the lines I drew with watercolors to the lines with lipstick. The lipstick lines are more intense, while the watercolor lines are more lighthearted. I didn't know how to interpret this assignment at first. I didn't know what type of lines I should draw. I then did similar lines for each piece. But when I used the different materials, it gave me a different sense of tone for each piece. Although I wasn't attempting to give off a feel when doing this project, I realized I did. I realized that each artistic material, each line, each color will give off a different mood. So one thing I definitely picked up from this assignment is that the smallest design gives off a sense of feel. This last slide is my favorite piece from the entire project. Although these lines may seem simple to some viewers, I feel as if it is the most serious, intense piece I have created yet. The black acrylic paint makes the lines much more thick. From what I have learned, the bolder the line, the more important it will seem. The paintbrush I used was on the larger side, which I realized added to the characteristics of a piece. The technique in this piece is that I wanted to use lines that gave me the feel of lightheartedness and use different artistic materials when drawing. I accomplished multiple different senses from each and every piece. Overall, I chose to talk about these pieces because it gave me a different perspective on art. When I draw, I now know I will be able to identify the different tones I have created. I know that my artwork isn't a Picasso piece, and I know I need to focus more on all of the techniques that are out there. But all in all, I think I did pretty well, given that this is my first assignment to draw and create stuff.